Since we are born, we are already used to vaccines, as between 12 and 24 hours after birth, a baby already receives its first vaccination against hepatitis B, and after that, several others will come with the aim of preventing a series of diseases. But is that really it? The vaccination campaign against COVID-19 has raised a series of questions about the so-called mandatory vaccination, where the population no longer has control or voice over whether or not they want to take it. This highlights an idea that was already in the minds of some people and is gaining more strength in the current scenario. Is mandatory vaccination really necessary, or is it a violation of human rights? In this video, you will understand a little more about the subject, about the controversy, and maybe you can come to a definitive conclusion on the subject. But before that, leave your opinion in the comments. Do you believe that mandatory vaccination is a violation of human rights? Or do you believe that it is an important ally in disease prevention? Also, leave your like if you enjoyed the theme of this video, and check your subscription so you don't miss any updates here on Visionary Businesses. First of all, it is necessary to understand a little more about how the vaccine works and what makes a person protected from a disease after taking it. The vaccine, also known as an immunizer, is a biological preparation that contains some components that induce the human body to produce antibodies against a specific disease. Usually, vaccines are made from dead or inactive viruses or bacteria, where the potential to cause a disease is non-existent, but they are still capable of generating a response from the immune system, causing antibodies to be created against these viruses and bacteria. Thus, with these ready-made antibodies, when a person actually comes into contact with the causes of the disease against which they are already vaccinated, the body will respond much more quickly, eliminating the virus or bacteria that in other circumstances could cause a serious disease with serious and often fatal consequences. Thus, the main purpose of the vaccine is literally to train the body against a possible attack, unlike a medication, for example, which already directly attacks microorganisms and relieves the symptoms caused by them. Vaccines become even more effective because they already prepare the body against a series of diseases, as there are some diseases that medications may not be as efficient as the body's own defenses. All immunizers go through a rigorous quality process and are tested several times before being released for mass use, which makes vaccines completely safe before being released to the population. But despite the beneficial effects they cause, some people simply do not want to be vaccinated and claim that this is their right as a citizen. One point that has been drawing attention, especially after COVID-19, is the mandatory vaccination, where those who do not receive the immunizer suffer social consequences such as the inability to travel or to enter certain places and events. This leads to a very interesting question that makes us think, because is mandatory vaccination a violation of human rights? First, we need to understand the reasons why some people do not want to be vaccinated, even knowing the benefits they can get against a series of diseases. The first reason is related to the way vaccines are applied, because as we all know, they are applied through syringes and needles that need to puncture the skin. Some people simply have a fear or trauma of needles, and this is a strong impediment to avoid vaccines at all costs. In this case, the indication is simply to consider the benefits that vaccination can offer, which is the prevention of a series of diseases against a small needle prick at the time of vaccination that takes only a few seconds. Another reason that has been impacting and leading several people to choose not to vaccinate is the spread of false news about vaccines. One of the main myths that have circulated on the internet about vaccines for many years, even before COVID-19, is that they cause autism. This absurdity gained strength from a publication in 1998 in the scientific journal The Lancet, but several subsequent studies proved that the publication was completely wrong, and the author himself retracted it, admitting the mistakes of his work and losing his professional license. In the early months of the COVID-19 vaccination campaign, several absurdities circulated on the internet, mainly on social networks, such as vaccines being responsible for the insertion of microchips, infertility, alteration of DNA, and the use of human fetal cells. These were just a few of the misconceptions related to immunization against the COVID-19. However, the World Health Organization, WHO, itself defended vaccines, attesting to their efficacy and proving that the immunizers underwent rigorous quality tests and did not show any of these effects. Apart from the fear of needles, the main reason that makes some people avoid vaccines at all costs is simply misinformation about the subject, where due to myths spread on the internet, the population believes in dubious information that puts their health at risk. But tell me your opinion. Do you think vaccination should be mandatory, or should we respect each individual's autonomy? Put your answer in the comments. Returning to the subject, if people are putting their own health at risk, why are vaccines mandatory? Shouldn't they be only for those who want to take them, respecting each individual's autonomy? Thus, it is clear that mandatory vaccination is a violation of human rights, right? Wrong. The problem of a disease caused by a virus, as was the case with COVID-19, is that the only way to protect everyone is to eradicate the virus, as has already been done, for example, with polio, rubella, measles, and mumps. Therefore, everyone needs to be vaccinated so that the virus cannot find any more hosts and cannot spread. If a group of people does not get vaccinated, the diseases will continue to exist, the symptoms will continue to appear, and lives will continue to be lost. Therefore, the only way to eradicate a disease is to ensure that the entire population is protected against it, that is, has antibodies to fight this virus or bacteria. And the best way to produce antibodies, as we have already seen, is through vaccination. For this reason, vaccination against some diseases with a higher potential for lethality ends up becoming mandatory. But the doubt still persists. Isn't this obligation a violation of human rights? Speaking of rights, in the study of the subject, there is a maxim that says that your right ends when it interferes with another person's right. Therefore, if a vaccine has the potential to eradicate a disease, your right not to take it may harm an entire population that would be free of it if vaccination were complete, thus interfering with other people's rights. It is due to this fact that vaccination can be mandatory, and it is not considered a violation of human rights because it has the potential to completely eradicate a disease and rid an entire population of the harms created by the viruses or bacteria that the vaccine combats. In fact, the fact that a person does not want to be vaccinated is what constitutes a violation of human rights, as the individual's desire should not go against the greater good, which in this case is the eradication of a disease. Vaccines undergo rigorous quality testing, and when they become mandatory, they have sufficient scientific evidence of their efficacy and safety, bringing only benefits to the individual and society as a whole. We should always be skeptical of news circulating on social media and seek scientific evidence from reliable sources when we come across alarming and potentially conspiratorial news. Although this is a relatively complex topic that involves a series of explanations, both scientific and legal, the discussion of mandatory vaccination is very important and should be conducted. There are several cases of misinformation, where some myths are spread as if they were real news and end up interfering in something as important as the health and well-being of an entire population. But what do you think about vaccines and mandatory vaccination? Leave your opinion in the comments. I would like to know a little more about what you think on the subject. Also, please like this video if you enjoyed the content. Thank you very much for watching so far, and if you are not yet subscribed, please subscribe to the channel so as not to miss any news here on Visionary Businesses. A big hug and see you next time.